Visiting Armenia after taking a class on the Armenian Genocide made all the difference to me. It changed my understanding of the entire subject from being something that simply happened to something that really happened to people.
People were still grieving the events that happened 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago.
It was one of the most powerful things I've ever gotten the chance to experience. Being on the study trip and going and seeing it with my own eyes provided a whole new level of depth to the class and connection to what we've been learning all semester.
I am Boris Adjemian, and I am one of the co-organizers of the study trip, The Armenian Genocide, History, Memories and Politics. And we are in Paris, in the HGBU Nuba Library. Right from the beginning, I collaborated with colleagues and friends from the American University in Armenia, in Yerevan. I have been working with my close friend and colleague Hourig Attarian, who is a professor at AUA. We decided to start a study trip on the 24th of April, which was a crazy decision because 24th of April is the biggest day in Armenia.
Hello.
It's a memory day when people are paying tribute to the victims of the Armenian Genocide 110 years ago. There are huge processions in the streets that converge to the biggest memorial dedicated to the Armenian Genocide in the world. You feel when you are in the queue of the thousands of people walking silently in the direction of this memorial, you really feel how memories are incorporated. It is something physical. It is very respectful, so there are thousands of people, but there is no noise. It's very calm. We've been walking for hours on a distance which normally should have taken 10 or 15 minutes on walk. But I remember that no one complained, and the students, our students, were very impressed. And I think for them it will remain a strong souvenir of this study trip.
It was around 9 or 10 p.m. and there were still thousands of people there waiting to place their flowers at the memorial, and it was really quiet. It was touching to see that.
The second day of our study trip, we spent it in Gyumri. Gyumri, the former Alexandropol, is the second largest town in Armenia, and it is very close to the Turkish border. Of course, in Armenia, such a small country, nothing is far from the Turkish border. We went to Gyumri thanks to Gayane Aghabalyan. Gayane is a brilliant young scholar. She was born in Gyumri, her family is from Gyumri, and her research is focused on the history of Gyumri, in particular the history of the orphanages that were created in Gyumri right after the genocide.
My name is Gayane. I teach at the American University of Armenia, but in the scope of the study tour, I represent Banalik Research Initiative and Oral History Mentors Initiative. We started our day from the railway station as an entry point to the city. And we started discovering the layers of the city, both in terms of its memory around the Armenian Genocide, but also its memory during Sovietization, during the 1988 earthquake. Most importantly, we looked at the orphanages that had opened.
Gyumri has also been, in the 1980s, the epicenter of a terrible earthquake 3 years before the collapse of the Soviet Union. So the public space in Gyumri and the memories private memories, family memories are still influenced, shaped by these tragic events of the past. Gyumri is a really nice city. It has been rebuilt with a lot of taste and care by the inhabitants, so it is a very pleasant town now.
We went to this coffee shop / art gallery. On the outside, there was a chance for you to write your name on the wall with these little cubes. A bunch of us got coffee cups with our faces drawn on them. They did it in like 5 minutes each. They took us to the back and we got to see a bunch of old pictures with old buildings. There were a bunch of old records, art. It was amazing. You can't talk about our trip to Armenia without talking about the dogs. They were all different sizes, breeds, and all of them were vaccinated.
Some of the most friendly dogs I've ever met. I'm used to street dogs being a lot more aggressive, being a little afraid of people. You go to places like Turkey, North Africa, and they're a bit skittish. They're used to having things thrown at them. But these dogs did not hold back in showing love. They became our own little mascots everywhere we went. We'd find 2 or 3 dogs to follow us, and it was interesting watching people try to divide their attention between getting love from the dogs and actually teaching the fantastic lessons that the tour guides were giving.
They were super sweet. They followed us around both cities, and you could tell that they're really loved by the people of Armenia.
It would have been a shame to go to Armenia with the students who didn't know Armenia, for most of them, without visiting some famous heritage sites.
We drove to the village of Garni, where we visited a pagan temple. It dates back to the 1st century AD, and it's a one-of-a-kind temple.
Garni, the last pagan temple remaining in Armenia, where all pagan temples were turned into churches after the 4th century, which is the early Christianization of Armenia.
We visited the Geghard Monastery. It's a Christian monastic complex, a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
It was made in 301 AD. And the stoneworks from all the centuries of invaders were extraordinary. It's this monolithic church carved into the bedrock of the mountainside. And we went into one of the main galleries where a sacred spring flowed out from the left that they think inspired the layout of all subsequent churches. Top of the room, there was a hole in the ceiling that went up to another cave room, and we all took turns sticking our faces down and looking through the ceiling, taking photos. It was a great experience.
In the afternoon, we spent 2 hours in the neighborhood of Nor-Sebastia. It's very interesting because it's never visited by the tourists. It is something a bit underground, but it has been a place built and shaped by immigrants who survived the genocide or fled directly to Soviet Armenia, and they tried to revive their old town, which had been destroyed in Turkey. Nor means new, so Nor-Sebastia is New Sebastia, the new town of Sebastia, which was an old Armenian town in the Ottoman Empire. Thanks to Hourig Attarian, we tried to analyze various historical layers in this very neighborhood of Nor-Sebastia. Study trips are a way for students to approach history and to feel how landscapes, memoryscapes can exist and can provide some, let's say, sensations which you don't experience in your everyday life.
We didn't speak any of the language, didn't understand the alphabet. We had to rely on each other. It was one of the most special community forming experiences. It also drew us closer to the professors, the jokes that they made, the adventures they took us on. We got to see them in their element, in the place where they've formed their fields of study. It made every lesson click in a way that I don't think would be possible otherwise.